Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zhang here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Ranked, where I climb the online regulation VGC ladder in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet and provide live commentary as I go. In this video, I'm going to be featuring a really fun team featuring Fire, Tera, Specs Groudon, as well as Focus Sash Jumpluff. This team finished in the top 100 of the most recent online Wi-Fi tournament, the Global Challenge, and it is really fun because Groudon can just legitimately win you games in 1 to 2 turns. Now, normally when people see Groudon in this format, they expect something like Clear Amulet or Assault Vest, for example, and they expect it to be a physical attacker. Groudon's special attack is not the highest, but it's still base 100 at the end of the day. And Eruption, of course, is just one of the most powerful moves in Pokemon. So when you combine Eruption with Fire Tera, with Choice Specs, and with Sun, this Pokemon can just so quickly destroy teams. Jumpluff is the perfect partner for it because you can enable Tailwind for it, and Jumpluff, of course, can also redirect attacks away with Rage Powder while also putting things to sleep with Sleep Powder. As always, I'll do a quick breakdown of the team, but if you want to just skip to the battles, check out the timestamps down below, and thanks so much as always for joining me. If you enjoy, I'd really appreciate if you consider leaving a like in the video or subscribing to the channel. It really helps out a ton. Anyway, let's get started. If you're interested in trying out the team, the rental code is on the screen, and there's also an accompanying Pokepaste down in the description below. Like I mentioned, this is a Choice Specs Groudon team. Groudon can just really quickly win you games, and Jumpluff is such a good partner for it. Of course, when Groudon sets up the Sun, you want other Pokemon that can also take advantage of the Sun. So you've got Photosynthesis, Fluttermane, Photosynthesis, Raging Bolt, as well as Fire Ogerpon. These are all Pokemon that are commonly seen with Groudon, and they fit really nicely onto this team, and you've got a Dreadplate, Dark Urshifu to round things out. The main thing to note here is that you have multiple means of speed control. You can lead Flutter Groudon as well as Jumpluff Groudon, and you have double redirection with Ogerpon as well as Jumpluff. Fluttermane here also has Trick Room, which is really unique because it is a tech that people are generally not going to expect in best of one play. So against really fast teams that have Tailwind, for example, you can lead Fluttermane, set up that Trick Room, and then get Choice Specs Groudon plus Dark Urshifu out under Trick Room to really destroy opposing teams. Breaking down the team, the first Pokemon to highlight is Groudon. Question of the day, by the way, I want to know what your hopes and expectations are for Pokemon champions down in the comment section below. I think that this game will have huge implications on competitive Pokemon, and I'm just so eager for it to come out and start making content around it, and I'm eager to see where the competitive scene goes from here. It really feels like we are still barely scratching the surface, and I just can't wait to keep making content for all of you. Now, the first Pokemon to talk about on this team is Groudon. Groudon is a Pokemon that historically has been very popular in different years of VGC. In 2016, for example, Primal Groudon was used a lot. In 2010, regular Groudon was used. But it feels like in this format, it is just not very consistent. And the main reason for that is because of its signature attack, Precipice Blades. The reality is Groudon is highly dependent on Precipice Blades if you're using the physical set, and it is just not something that is going to lend to a ton of consistency because it misses a lot. So, to get around that, we have Choice Specs Special Groudon instead. Like I mentioned, Groudon's base special attack isn't incredible, it's only base 100, but it's also not like terribly low, and Groudon's got pretty good base stats across the board. It's not the fastest restricted, but that's okay because you've got speed control on this team from Tailwind Jumpluff as well as Icy Wind Fluttermane. And the idea behind this is most people, when they see Groudon, expect physical Groudon. Very few people play around Fire, Tera, Choice Specs Eruption, unless they've already seen this team specifically. So, as a result, you can often just go for something like Jumpluff plus the Groudon, or the Fluttermane plus the Groudon, and just go for your speed control, Icy Wind or Tailwind, Fire Tera, Eruption, and play the game from there. Groudon, with that Fire Tera Eruption, basically feels like we'll do at least 50% to anything in the format, and it will be able to pick up a lot of one-hit knockouts onto a lot of common Pokemon. One thing that I think is also interesting is right now, a lot of these teams that are doing really well in the meta and winning tournaments are using Pokemon that are faster than Groudon in terms of base speed, like Urshifu or Fire Ogerpon, for example, but they're actually not running a lot of speed investment on said Pokemon, and so Groudon actually often can outspeed those Pokemon in like the, base 90 to 105-ish range, because those Pokemon are just like choosing often to invest in less speed investment, which I think is interesting. So you're going to be clicking Eruption most of the time with this Groudon, but of course there's use cases for Overheat and Heat Wave. And then Earth Power is really good to just hit things that resist fire. So like specifically against like Incineroar, for example, or against Miraidon, this can be really valuable. Jumpluff is going to be one of your go-to partners with this Groudon, and of course the idea is to just set up Tailwind for it and also disrupt your opponent with moves like Rage Powder, Sleep Powder, and Encore. Jumpluff plus Groudon is just really strong. However, you don't have Ghost Tera or Covert Cloak, and so you are going to be actually quite vulnerable to Fake Out. That being said, one of the cool plays I like going for when I'm up against Fake Out is if my opponent leads Incineroar, they're almost always going to like Fake Out Groudon, for example, because they were worried about Covert Cloak on Jumpluff. You can actually just like Encore them immediately into Fake Out, forcing a switch next turn, and then turn 2 you can go like Tailwind Fire Tera Eruption, which I think is really cool. But basically, Jumpluff here, really disruptive. Also keep in mind though, it does not have any attacking moves, so it is fully supportive. But I think Jumpluff is just such a good partner for Groudon here because it essentially almost feels like a Prankster Tailwind, like you're just so fast, and you are going to be able to really set Groudon up for success. Under Tailwind, Groudon, is hitting 284 speed stat, and that's basically outpacing everything in the format that doesn't have a speed boost itself. Flutter Mane is going to be one of your other go-to leads for this Groudon, and this is super bulky Flutter Mane, as you can see, near max HP, max defense, so you'll be surviving a lot more physical attacks than your opponents will generally anticipate. Flutter Mane here is unique because you've got Taunt as well as Trick Room. This team, of course, was built for one of the online best of one tournaments, and so having access to tools like this can be really helpful. Trick Room in particular is a move that can steal games on this Flutter Mane, because I think when people look at this team, they expect it to be pretty fast, right? But the reality is that you are still using Groudon, which is a base 90 speed Pokemon, Urshifu, base 97 speed, the Ogerpon here is the bulkier set, so you're going to be slightly slower as well, and then Raging Bolt here has like almost no speed investment. So against really fast-paced teams, if you see a Whimsicott or a Tornado on your opponent's team, you might want to think a little bit about setting up that Trick Room. But what's awesome is that this Flutter Mane can set up Trick Room, but also Icy Wind for Groudon to succeed. So this is also going to be one of your go-to leads. Taunt, really valuable just to shut setup down, as well as Pokemon like Amoonguss, for example. To round out the team, pretty standard stuff. You got Fire Ogerpon. Fire Ogerpon right now just continues to be really good in the format, and recently people have been using like near max HP, max defense. So this is super similar, but it just has a little bit more speed investment, which speed creeps some of those other bulky Fire Pawns that are not running as much speed in like the, like 12 to 20 speed EV range, for example. And so yeah, Fire Ogerpon though, people realize running a lot of bulk on it makes it super good into certain matchups. There's so many physical attackers in the format. This allows you to take attacks like Glacial Lance and Surging Strikes way more effectively. You have Dark Urshifu here as well, and since the Focus Sash is committed on the Jumpluff, you've got it here on the Urshifu instead, and it's Dreadplate as well. Dreadplate just gives you some extra damage multipliers, and it allows you to combo like Dark Tera plus Dreadplate in order to secure one-hit knockouts that your opponents might not anticipate. And so I think this is probably the best item for it if you can't run Focus Sash, and Focus Sash actually feels pretty essential on this Jumpluff. Finally, you've got Assault Vest Raging Bolt. This Raging Bolt, crucially, actually does not have Thunderbolt. Instead, you've got Electro Web for speed control. So you've got triple speed control on this team with Electro Web, Flutter Mane, and Jumpluff. You also have Volt Switch, Draco Meteor, and Thunderclap, and Water Tera here. So the idea behind Raging Bolt is that it can just be brought into a lot of matchups, really good into special attackers, obviously, like, for example, Kyogre, as well as Calyrex Shadow Rider. This can be used just to disrupt, and Raging Bolt's going to be important because Pokemon that can set up the rain, like Kyogre, Pelipper, and Tornadus, all are going to be really annoying for the rest of the team. So Raging Bolt kind of fills out that last slot, and of course has that Photosynthesis to thrive off of Groudon as well, getting a special attack boost. So in terms of ways with playing with the team, I think if Groudon can get 2 really full-powered Fire Tera Eruptions off, you often will be able to just like gain a huge advantage, but you want to get those Eruptions off obviously before your opponent can move. So Jumpluff Groudon, Flutter Mane Groudon, those are going to be 2 of your most effective means of getting those Eruptions off. Ogerpon here can offer redirection, obviously, with Groudon, but then you're kind of stuck with 2 Pokemon that are decently fast, but not like the fastest Pokemon. And so this is viable because it also turns Ogerpon into an offensive option with the Fire Tera and Sun, but you obviously won't have speed control with it. Otherwise, I've considered leads like Flutter Mane Jumpluff if I'm actually really trying to hard set Trick Room in order to enable Groudon under Trick Room. Groudon Raging Bolt obviously will do a lot of damage immediately. Flutter, I think, is generally going to be a little bit more passive. It's not a big damage dealer here. And so if you are utilizing it, you really want to make sure that you're getting a valuable Icy Wind or Taunt or Trick Room often with it. So those are just some modes. In terms of weaknesses, a couple of things to call out. Obviously, opposing weather, especially rain, is going to be quite annoying to deal with. I have played against a lot of Rain Dance Tornaduses while trying to get the hang of this team, and Rain Dance Tornadus is just so annoying because it's often paired with something that can thrive off rain as well, whether it be a Kyogre or a Water Urshifu, for example. Now, on this team, you obviously have Raging Bolt and Jumpluff, but the point is, it's like not only is Rain Dance alone going to be annoying, but then if there are other Pokemon that can capitalize off the rain, it's even harder. Groudon just in the rain is miserable. Like, it not only basically does no damage, but it often feels forced to switch, and your opponents can capitalize off of that. Wide Guard is also going to be quite annoying because you often do rely on Eruption. So a Pokemon like Pelipper, for example, if positioned well, can be a huge nuisance. For Jumpluff, Taunt is going to be really annoying, and also Focus Sash Pokemon. There are games where like Jumpluff basically supports Groudon really nicely, but then you have no damage here, and so Taunt can just effectively shut it down immediately. By the way, if you're up against Prankster Taunt, you can go Dark Tera to get around it. Kind of a niche use case, but this Dark Tera helps against that, as well as, for example, Calyrex, Shadow Rider, Astral Barrage, and Expanding Force. But yeah, being taunted is annoying, and not being able to do any damage is annoying when you're up against Focus Sash Pokemon. It would be really nice for Jumpluff to like finish it off with an attack, but that won't be the case here. But you could consider running something like Pollen Puff, for example, over one of these moves if you wanted some damage. Otherwise, things to note, Ogerpon here, not as fast as normal, right? And so you are going to be potentially outsped by Pokemon that are in like that 90 to 110 speed range. So that's something you have to watch out for. Urshifu here is Dark Tera, no Focus Sash. So you are exceptionally weak to Fairy and Fighting type attacks, and you have no bulk either. So, you know, you can very easily get outsped by something like a Zamazenta or a Fluttermane, which can be really scary. This Fluttermane does no damage, nor can it really be able to protect, so if you're utilizing it and you're leading it, you really want to get value out of it. It feels really bad if you lead this, for example, to a Fire Ogerpon, where it's like none of your moves really do anything, and you're just threatened by a lot of damage. And then Raging Bolt here also cannot protect itself, and so this is going to be really slow as well. Even if you get the right speed control for it, like Tailwind or an Icy Wind, because you have like only 4 speed EVs, Raging Bolt still often will be outsped. And it's Water Tera here, which is a pretty good defensive Tera, but of course the Water Tera opens up new weaknesses to opposing Electric and Grass type attacks. And so those are just a couple of things that I wanted to note. Also, I think that this team having the element of surprise really plays a big factor in being able to succeed. And so if your opponent has seen this and they know which choice Specs Groudon, just that information alone can actually give them a huge advantage. So you do have to be careful. I do feel like because this team placed really well in the last big online Wi-Fi tournament, people are now starting to use it more. And so it's more likely that your opponents will recognize it compared to, say, 2 weeks ago, right? And so that's just something you have to watch out for. But that being said, Specs Groudon still inherently is a strong set. It just, your knowledge of it can make it a little bit easier to counter. And then the last thing I wanted to mention is just Fake Out. Because you don't have Protect on a lot of these Pokemon, like Fake Out into a Jumpluff Groudon lead can be annoying if there's something else that threatens with a lot of damage. So for example, like Fake Out plus something like a Fire Ogerpon is quite annoying because Fire Ogerpon just is immune to Sleep Powder. And then, yeah, things that are immune to Sleep Powder, whether it be grass types or like Safety Goggles, for example, can be pretty scary as well. But yeah, those are just a couple of things I wanted to know. Okay, Calyrex, Shadow Rider, Hyper Offense here with Drago and Regieleki. I feel like I'm back in Sword and Shield. Indeedee, Whimsicott, Urshifu, Calyrex. Interesting. Eruption with specifically Fire Tera I think will be really powerful here if we can get Trick Room up, which would involve Fluttermane. They could go Indeedee, Calyrex for redirection. I think we could go like Dark Ursh, Fluttermane, Groudon. If I were my opponent, I would try to beat Jumpluff Groudon lead, so I think like Indeedee Calyrex would work. Although if they go Indeedee Calyrex low key, I think I can just Tailwind Fire Tera Eruption, so I might actually go Jumpluff Groudon. Assault Vest, Raging Bolt, Dark Ursh. Okay, I'm down to try this. My hope is they go Indeedee Calyrex and they just go for a Follow Me turn 1. One thing to think about is I can always pivot Groudon out into Dark Urshifu and Sleep Powder into Calyrex as well if they lead like Whimsicott Calyrex, for example. Okay, can't say I was expecting that lead. Interesting. Huh. I mean, I'm like kind of down to just commit Fire Tera here, Eruption, Tailwind. Regieleki, Regidrago though, a blast from the past. Okay, so Groudon commits Tera here. I mean, the question then is, what do you have in the back? It could be Whimsicott plus Calyrex, which would be a little bit scary because you get a late game Tailwind. Drago protects, which is fine by me. I can Encore you now into Protect. Jumpluff, Tailwinds. Let's see if you're Focus Sash on Alecki. I would expect Focus Sash. Regieleki, of course, got top 8 of the World Championships last year on a Calyrex Ice Rider team, and that set indeed had Focus Sash. But it's not. All right, let's go. Eruption Groudon gets its first knockout, and Jumpluff now pressures with Sleep Powder as well, and Encore, and we still have Focus Sash intact. I think this is a dream scenario. All right, Whimsicott comes out. But I think I can just Encore them. So click Eruption here, and then click Encore into Drago. Calyrex should be their last one. I think Groudon literally just dominates this. Okay, they're going to Tera. What are you Terraing into? Whimsicott Teras into water. Okay. I mean, Eruption here probably still does like 60 to 70% to both is my guess. They're going to Light Screen. This makes sense. Okay, with Light Screen up now, you take the damage a little bit better, but the Jumpluff here is just the perfect support for Groudon. Cool. And since they don't even set up Tailwind, like they don't even get to try to roll for a double protect here. Oh my gosh, Eruption still does so much damage. Yep, now you're just locked into protect. So I can click Eruption again. Let's just double check everything. They already committed their Tera. These two should be Calyrex perfectly in the back. I think I can just Eruption here and Sleep Powder into Drago. Okay, Drago protects. Throw Tailwind here then with Whimsicott. That's fine. It is correct to stay in here with Drago, I think, other than like rather than switching Calyrex and just taking way too much damage with it. Now we knock out the Whimsicott. Cool. So it's 4-2 now, but they have Light Screen and Tailwind set up. Yeah, Water Tera plus Light Screen was very clever there. To kind of try to keep themselves in this game. Calyrex comes out now. I've got Bolt in the back. You're still encored for one more turn. I'm going to get Sleep Powder this turn. I think Bolt and Dark Earth should be able to just win the game with like Priority Thunderclap and Priority Sucker Punch. So I actually don't feel the need to switch here. Eruption would break a potential Focus Sash here. Yeah, I'm down to just Eruption here and Sleep Powder. Okay, they failed to protect. Nice. And Sleep Powder connects. Cool. I don't think we needed to hit the Sleep Powder, though, since I built up such a big lead, like Raging Bolt plus Urshifu. I mean, Dark Urshifu itself is already so good into Calyrex, right? Cool. Get another Eruption off. And Light Screen. Oh my gosh, it still almost KOs Calyrex. This Groudon has literally done almost every damage like to my opponent's team. Like it one-shot Regieleki, it KO'd Whimsicott, it's done 90 to 95% to both of these. Like just absolutely crazy. So I will Rage Powder Eruption now. Can we have a perfect game with the Groudon here? Calyrex stays asleep. Cool. Dragon Energy or Draco. Yep. I mean, you can't Dragon Energy. You could, but it would do basically nothing. Beautiful. And Groudon will have literally done 100% to 4 different Pokemon in this game. Oh my goodness. What an absolute monster this Pokemon is. So satisfying. And I think what's really fun about this team is being able to utilize it under Tailwind and Trick Room. So Jumpluff Torkoal is just a really potent lead. And it was really strong in this because my opponent didn't have Fake Out, right? So if you have Fake Out, we don't have Covert Cloak on the Whimsicott, I don't have Protect or on Jumpluff, you can just flinch me and then like prevent me really from getting too much damage off, or like deny Tailwind or deny an attack on a Groudon. Also, no one really ever expects Specs Groudon, to be honest, right? Although I guess even if I were physical Groudon, like Tailwind Precipice Blades would have still been pretty strong. But the choice specs was just so insane here. And then them protecting with Drago on turn 1 just allowed Jumpluff to really render that slot useless. And like getting even just 1 or 2 eruptions off is a big deal with this team. But we got 3 different eruptions off in like that early game, right? Well, I mean, how many times did we click eruption in that game? It was like four times total in the end. And so yeah, Groudon was just an absolute monster here for us. Maybe it was 5 eruptions total. Well, folks, this is a great advertisement for the previous video I made, which is on this team. Of course, the Lunala NDD team that won the Vancouver Regional Championships. Lunala claiming its very first major in the Regulation G format. This team is really, really good. I have been so impressed by it. And so, yeah, if you want to see me play against or use the team that we're playing against, check out the video down below. The upside here is having some information advantage. Knowing a lot of the sets is very beneficial for us. We've got Taunt onto Flutter Mane. Assault Vest Raging Bull, I think, is one of the most annoying Pokemon for the opposing side to go up against. It's mainly Landorus that concerns me a little bit. So Groudon's going to be faster here than both Indeedee and Lunala, which is helpful. Dark Ursh should also be really annoying. So I think we go Dark Ursh, Raging Bolt. I could go Flutter Groudon here. Flutter Groudon's actually really interesting because if they go Lunala Indeedee and they don't Water Terra turn 1, I can just immediately pop them with Eruption. Icy Wind Eruption. There's a good argument for Jumpluff as well. My problem is under Trick Room it becomes a lot weaker. So, alright, let's try this out. Yeah, basically, like, the idea here, I just don't know if Fire Terra Eruption knocks out Lunala anyway, even with Shadow Shield broken. But I think if I lead Flutter plus Groudon, they should go, like, Follow Me Trick Room. To which I actually could go, like, Taunt, or even reverse their Trick Room. Oh, but it's Ogre Roaring Moon, okay. It's fine by me. Presumably leave Lunala in the back. This is a good lead by them, though. I think really smart to commit to this mode. Because now you pressure with Tailwind. Tailwind Ivy Cudgel. You could Fire Terra Ivy Cudgel either Mon. I could Water Terra here. Bolt is a really good switch in as well. I could even Trick Room. I'm going to Trick Room Fire Terra Eruption here. My dream scenario would be they go Tailwind, and then they target down Groudon. But I think it makes sense for them to go Tailwind and then Cudgel into Flutter Mane. But if you do that, then I get a ton of damage off here, and I don't think it's the end of the world. Because then it's a free switching into Raging Bolt or Urshifu. But if they end up Cudgeling or Woodhammering into Groudon, like, we're in really, really good shape here. But it is Cudgel into Flutter. I actually thought about Water Terraing Flutter there just to get... Oh! That doesn't KO us! This is the downside of running, like, no attack investment on Ogerpon and us being super bulky Flutter Mane. Okay, I think the game's over. We even crit Roaring Moon, which is lucky as well. But yeah, basically here, I was willing to trade Ogerpon and for Flutter Mane to get, like, 50%... trade both Pokemon and get 50% on Roaring Moon because I know I have 2 Pokemon that are really good in the back in Urshifu as well as Raging Bolt. Although, honestly, they probably have Landorus plus Lunala. I mean, I think the game is over now, honestly, because, like, I just have full speed control. But I actually think they had a really good lead here. And I don't love my potential, how this would have played out if I traded and then they just brought Landorus out immediately. So, in my opinion, my opponent just led better than me here. I maybe should have just gone with Jumpluff plus Groudon, but I thought Flutter plus Groudon, I was like, I see, like, Icy Wind plus Eruption. I know you don't have Wide Guard on Lunala. But yeah, even with the Sun, Flutter Mane still survives Ivy Cudgel. which is wild. Lunala comes out now. Yep. Okay. Now I can just click Eruption again, switch into... they're actually probably going to Meteor Beam here, so we might actually want to get them to waste their Meteor Beam, I'm thinking. I'm happy to Moonblast here. Oh, actually, Lunala could also reverse my Trick Room, although I don't think they will here. But I don't mind still going for Taunt to make sure that they don't, and then switching out into Raging Bolt right now. I wish we had Snarl on Bolt. I think if we had Snarl, it would be so good. But, yeah. And this is how, like, knowing your opponent's EV spreads can give you an advantage. I wasn't really sure if Fluttermane would survive that Cudgel. I was actually kind of expecting to go down. And they're going to switch out, okay? Into Indeedee. You know, the thing here is Lunala likely actually still gets to attack first. Like, they have Tailwind, but we have Photosynthesis speed boost, right? Oh, they committed Tera. Great. That makes sense because obviously you're staring down Eruption, but what this means now is I can just go for super effective electric type damage, which is great. That's I think, one of the best ways in handling this Lunala. Okay, they're just expanding force. That's fine. It still actually does a ton of damage into Raging Bolt, which is not, like, ideal, but I think it's okay. Yeah, because you just should not have a way to handle the Urshifu right now, right? What's actually the best way to sequence this? Because I know your Rocky Helmet. If I Electro Web, I also drop your Lunala's speed, which could make you faster than me under Trick Room, which is also a problem. I just kind of wish I just had Thunderbolt here, honestly. I think what I can do, though, is bring out Groudon here. Yeah. Because the reality is Lunala should not really be able to hit Urshifu. So what I want to do here, 3 turns of Trick Room, 2 turns of Tailwind. I would like to go for... And because you still have Tailwind up, the speed order should go Raging Bolt, Groudon, Lunala, Indeedee. You don't have Protect on either of these. But I don't want to Electro Web yet. Yeah, so I think I can go Eruption here. And Volt Switch. Yep, they go for Follow Me. That's fine. That does a lot. Cool. Yeah, and then the idea behind this is you knock out Groudon, but then I end the game with Assault Vest, Raging Bolt plus Dark Urshifu, both which are 2 of the most annoying Pokemon for this Lunala to go up against. Perfect. And yeah, I know here that you can't Protect with either Pokemon, so there's really no downside to going for this. Perfect. Shadow Shield now broken on Lunala, crucially. And honestly, I think, like, yeah, Sun boosted Photosynthesis. Oh, they do Trick Room here, though. Okay. I think that's fine. Because Groudon is actually faster than Lunala right now. Or it's not actually because their Tailwind is still up, right? But I can just Sucker Punch Roaring Moon here. That was actually a really nice Trick Room reversal with Tailwind still up. Oh, I also can't Sucker Punch because Terrain is up, huh? Wait, that was a really, really great play by my opponent. I guess I could have Electro Web there, huh? But the thing is, I don't actually think Acro one-shots us here without Flying Tera. They should Meteor Beam, right? But I actually don't mind losing Groudon here. So I'm going to just click Eruption and Wicked Blow. Yeah, I'm fairly sure we survive Acro here. That does nothing. And they Meteor Beam, yeah, but that's okay. Because I don't think you beat the combination of Urshifu plus Raging Bolt. I'd rather have Raging Bolt in this endgame. Because I can just Thunderclap and Sucker Punch you. Although I can't Thunderclap actually because Terrain is still up, but it's fine. Like, the main thing is 2 Wicked Blows should knock out Lunala, right? 2 Volt Switches should knock out Lunala. Lunala shouldn't be able to Protect. Honestly, I think my opponent played this game phenomenally. So, huge kudos to them. Like, I think they it was absolutely correct for them to go with the Roaring Moon Ogerpon mode. And I think their Trick Room reversal, like they didn't try to reverse Trick Room with Lunala the turn that I had Flutter Mane out, right? And they reversed it right when they could utilize their last turn of Tailwind as well. So I'm very impressed by their play. But yeah, my whole point in this game was I think these two are really annoying for Lunala to deal with. So if I have both of them in the end game, I should be in a pretty good spot. Expanding Force might KO us, but it's okay because 2 Wicked Blow should KO into into Lunala. Yeah, so we can just Volt Switch here, no risk of missing, and Wicked Blow. Yeah, that by itself almost just KOs. So they'll Expanding Force, but I know Ursh is immune to it. And like I didn't really feel the need to conserve Groudon in this game. We end up surviving anyway. Nice. That's a KO. But yeah, I think my opponent played this game really, really nicely. Unfortunately, like Acrobatics is just a pretty weak attack, and Dark Urshifu was like really important to conserve all the way until the end. This means, though, they didn't bring Landorus, so it also makes me feel like even if I didn't get, even if Flutter Mane went down on turn 1, the trade is actually still worth it. They went Tailwind. I would have had Groudon out. You probably bring the Lunala in. I guess the thing, though, is I had committed my Fire Tera, so with Fire Tera, it means you can just Meteor Beam immediately into me, which is a little bit scary. Like, you could Acrobatics Meteor Beam into Groudon. If my opponent finds that play, it's actually really strong. So what would I do differently into... Because I thought they would go like Lunala lead for sure. And they were really smart not to. I think into Fire Ogerpon plus the Roaring Moon, I could go Jumpluff Groudon here. And just pressure with Tailwind, Fire Tera, Eruption. Yeah, which just like does a ton of damage. And then, like, in that scenario, I don't even have to necessarily Tera. I probably would still Tera Groudon, actually. But yeah, Tailwind Eruption, and then you bring in Indie or Lunala, and then I can pressure, like, Encore into the Roaring Moon, or I could pressure, like, Sleep Powder into Lunala. I think the main thing is if we trade Tailwinds, like, they do have the ability to reverse the speeds with Trick Room. But yeah, I think my opponent made some really great plays in that one, including, like, Expanding Forcing with Lunala when they did, and then also clicking Trick Room with it when they did. But yeah, I think the reality is Assault Vest, Raging Bolt plus Dark Urshifu are probably 2 of the hardest Pokemon to go up against, and if you're staring both of them down on the same team, it's exceptionally difficult. And when I was using the Lunala team, I was struggling a lot against these Pokemon. And yeah, like turn 1, obviously we had the surprise of Trick Room Flutter Mane as well. But yeah, it was a really, really clutch survival. So if you're curious, we actually have a really good chance of surviving the Ivy Cudgel here. Ivy Cudgel in Sun against the Flutter Mane EV spread that we have is only an 18.75% chance to get a one-hit knockout. And so, like I said, I was playing that turn 1 expecting to actually trade. Although, like I said, in retrospect, trading plus Landorus coming in would actually be pretty bad for us. And so, yeah, even though we ended up winning this one and we ended up like surviving this the majority of the time, I think I might actually like either leading Jumpluff Groudon or having Jumpluff in the back instead, because Jumpluff actually protects a little bit more. Although I guess Landorus could still Sandsear Storm. So, yeah, I think my opponent played that game once again really, really nicely. I'm mainly laughing because this team reminds me a good bit of the Tang team from San Antonio, which is also similar to the Vancouver team we just featured and went up against. But actually, there are some noticeable differences here, mainly the Tornadus being on this composition over Roaring Moon. So, let's see. There's also a Raging Bolt here over Amoonguss. If Tornadus is Rain Dance, that's really bad for us. And even though in the previous game we did not go up against Landorus, I think Landorus coming out here certainly could be the case. There's a lot of things I don't like seeing here. I just don't know if it's Water or Dark Ursh, but seeing Tornadus in team preview makes me more inclined to think it's Rain Dance, and if so, that's really bad for us, honestly. That's going to be one of the biggest counters to what we have here. So I wouldn't be surprised if they just led Tornadus. Like, Tornlando actually scares me a lot. I'm thinking Flutter Bolt, Groudon, Dark Urshifu. See, the thing is, I actually think Ogerpon is quite strong here, but if it ends up being Rain Dance Tornadus, I suddenly have Groudon, Groudon and Fire Ogerpon. And I was thinking about bringing Jumpluff as well. And then like Rain Dance just really neutralizes all of those. This is really interesting because it's actually quite rare to see Ice Rider paired with Tornadus. But like normally I feel pretty good into Ice Rider comps with this team because like Jumpluff Groudon is so effective. It's gonna be Ice Rider Fire Ogerpon though. Okay. This is not a good lead for us. Like I led this mainly to deal with Tornadus because I was really worried about potential Rain Dance, but I totally could have just let Groudon here. Yeah. Not great. But basically the reason I didn't want to lead Groudon is because it's so... Imagine they lead like Torn and they just Rain Dance on turn 1. Groudon is just so ineffective. So it goes to show how like even the threat of Rain Dance can make it you struggle with this kind of Groudon set. Even though my opponent didn't lead it here. They could just follow me. Honestly, they could just Ivy Cudgel here as well. I think I probably want to Volt Switch out. I think they are going to Ivy Cudgel. I can't really stop Ivy Cudgel, which is part of the problem. No, AC Win, Volt Switch. Okay, they follow me. That's fine-ish, I guess. Mainly curious if they Trick Room here. I also didn't want to Tera my Raging Bolt here because then it makes me weak to Ogerpon. But yeah, if I guess their solution against Jumpluff, Torkoal, or Groudon, it just makes me think they're not Rain Dance then, honestly, on the Tornadus, if this is how turn 1 is playing out. Yeah, they're just Glacial. But I could be wrong. They could just be saving it for the back, which also I think is like a logical play. I think honestly they were probably thinking, hey, like I don't have to worry. Like if you're not covering for Eruption, then this lead makes a lot of sense because you have this for Follow Me, so you can take Sleep Powder and Heat Crash into the slot, which I think makes a lot of sense. This should just Follow Me, right? I might just end up going down to my last 2 Pokemon immediately. That does not feel right. Like, I think I want Flutter and Groudon next to each other, so I might switch out. Go for Wicked Blow onto Ogerpon. But yeah, this was a game where I just, like, really, really was trying to cover for Rain Dance Tornadus, and it didn't even end up getting led. I'm not even sure they have Rain Dance on it, so... Okay, do we get the knockout there at least? But, like, I'm just eating too many Glacial Lances right now, which is not good for us. The upside is I do get Groudon out now. Yeah, I think we have to go into it. Okay. The question is, does Tornadus come out now? Oh, it's Lando. This, like, I also led Flutter. Flutter was my best answer into Lando, and now it's looking a little spooky, I think. The question is, do you Sandsear Storm or do you Earth Power? If you Sandsear here, you could obviously miss. I have Thunderclap here, so I can obviously Thunderclap into Ice Rider. I'm almost thinking about not tearing, but then Heat Wave isn't going to KO. But then I guess that's fine because then Flutter gets to come out. Okay, I'm going to Thunderclap Heat Wave. Here's the Tera, though. Yeah. I mean, if it's Tera Water, Ice Rider. Okay, I mean, I get a super effective Thunderclap into you. But the thing is, I'm also eating up a super effective Glacial Lance, right? So unless Heat Wave also KOs. That's not enough. That was a crit. Wait, if that's a crit, you are definitely Assault Vested, right? Photosynthesis critical hit. And they clicked Earth Power, so I actually could have Terra Groudon there. Oh, but they read into the Tera! They read into my Tera! And I didn't Tera. Wait, we could actually still win this now because I conserved Flutter. No way. Finding a way to win this would actually be nuts, given how bad things were looking. And I think I intentionally don't Tera right now with Groudon once again. I can just Icy Wind here. I might Tera. Why would I not Tera here? Mainly because Raging Bolt then, if it's in the back, can Thunderclap me. But I'm not convinced I actually knocked the Ice Rider out. I think I should. But I don't want to leave it a chance. Like, oh, and Lando switches. Okay. It could be into Bolt, right? Into Torn. We might actually win this. I mean, if I just double hit Heat Wave, we're good. But this was a game where I needed my opponent to make a mistake. But I think the high horsepower predict makes a lot of sense, because like, who would in their right mind wouldn't Tera there? Honestly, if I Tera'd, it actually wouldn't. Oh no! I missed. I'm like, yeah, if it's not Clear Amulet Ice Rider and it took Thunderclap like that, I'm pretty sure it's Assault Vested. And it still lives! Okay, Assault Vest Ice Rider with Water Tera is the with Fire Ogerpon is the nightmare for this Groudon. Wow. Oh my gosh, it lives on like 1. But yeah, we were really close to winning this one. If Icy Wind hits and we just get any slight like more damage onto Ice Rider, we win this one. I am curious if they had Rain Dance here in the end. They did have Rain Dance, yeah. So this was so bad. The fact that we almost actually could have won, I'll take it. This actually gets a double knockout, but I can't beat Landorus in the end game. Oh wow. Okay, so if I were to replay this again against Assault Vest Water Tera Ice Rider, what would I do? I would go with Fire Ogerpon for sure. Yeah. Anyway, let's finish this game. I don't want to waste my opponent's time. They were faster with Landers, right? It was like the win con is us actually being faster with Groudon, but we already saw the speeds. So, yeah. But I actually think that is a reason why like this game was still worth playing out. But, yeah, they could have Rain Danced or Tailwind. I'm actually really glad they showed Rain Dance because it shows what I was worried about coming into this matchup the whole time. But, yeah, Assault Vest, like, I was only in this game, to be honest, to begin with because I've got that critical hit with Thunderclap. But AV Water Tera is probably the worst combo for this team to run into if I'm not bringing the Ogerpon. But Ogerpon didn't feel like a very consistent bring here because they have Tornadus and they have Landorus, right? And in the rain, like, I just don't do that much damage. And Sandseer Storm and Bleak Wind both ignore the follow me. So, yeah, that was a crazy game. It's mainly crazy because it's like, yeah, if Icy Wind connected on Tornadus and I just get a little bit more damage on the Ice Rider, we should win that game. But it took a lot to even get to that spot, which was them, like me getting a critical hit and them going for Earth Power rather than the Glacial Lance, right? So I got like just really outled here. And I was really expecting a Tornadus lead, which I think makes a lot of sense, but I think it also makes sense for them to have it in the back because you have Assault Vest on the Ice Rider, and I would have never predicted that. So it's funny because in this game, it was like me having this surprise Choice Specs Groudon set and them having this surprise Assault Vest Ice Rider set. So yeah, what would I do differently if I were to replay this? I think I would just go Jumpluff Groudon, and I would go Sleep Powder into Ice Rider, Fire Tera Eruption turn 1. They would probably either go Follow Me there, so then Sleep Powder gets redirected into Follow Me, but then I knock out your Ogerpon. Ice Rider has the Tera, and it can't Trick Room, so Glacial Lances. Also, it makes sense for it to not have Trick Room because you have Tornadus, so it probably might even have some speed investment. But then basically, in the Jumpluff Groudon scenario, I get the knockout, and then You bring out Tornadus probably. Maybe you click Rain Dance, but then I can just launch Sleep Powder into the Ice Rider slot, which is pretty strong, right? So you Rain Dance, I Sleep Powder. Kind of depends on whether or not I hit or miss. The question is whether or not I would switch out Groudon, but yeah, like you can see how like Rain Dance Tornadus is so bad because it just completely neutralizes Groudon. And in this game, like it actually the Tornadus came out like a little bit too late for them. But it's just like one of many issues that we had to deal with here. Assault Vest plus Water Terra Ice Rider also just like a nasty combo, but that was a really fun game. We'll talk about the Justin Tang Ice Rider team because now we're actually going up against it. No way. Roaring Moon, Ursh, Lando, Ice Rider, Mungus, Fire, Ogerpon. That was literally the team I was just talking about. Okay. Well, we know that the Ogerpon here is slow. I think the Lunala game showed a framework that could work for my opponent here, which is Roaring Moon Ogerpon with Lando Ice Rider in the back. So that's actually the combo I want to respect the most. And I was saying, okay, you know what? I've been talking about Jumpluff Groudon. Well, let's give Jumpluff Groudon a go. So these two, I want Flutter Mane to Icy Wind Lando. I think. I guess with Tailwind up. Because Landorus is slow, I can also just bring Ogre Ursh. Ogre Ursh. That feels a little bit better because against back Ice Rider. So, all right. Jumpluff Groudon, it's your time to shine. It's just so funny that we go from like Lunala, and I'm like, hey, like this team reminds me a little bit of the San Antonio team, and then it ends up obviously not being like that similar with Assault Vest, Water Terra, as well as the Rain Dance Torn. And then now we're actually going up against the San Antonio team. But, you know, if you're starting your journey in VGC, it's always good to just, like, pick a team that's really strong. Because these teams are, like, optimized for victory, right? And so both the team that we're going up against, I also featured on the channel as well as the first one. So check them out. It's going to be the Roaring Moon plus the Ice Rider. Okay. Ice Rider here should be Fairy Tera. I pressure with Sleep Powder Fire Tera Eruption or Tailwind Fire Tera Eruption. Could go for either. I don't think I want a Tailwind here because they could theoretically Trick Room. Would they really Trick Room though? I think if they did Trick Room, it'd be bad, because then Landorus under Trick Room actually causes me some issues. I'm leaning towards Sleep Powder into Roaring Moon, because I can see Ice Rider protecting or tearing. Fire Tera Eruption here. I think if you're my opponent, one logical play is protect Ice Rider, Acrobatics into Jumpluff turn 1. There's also like a chance they just don't protect Ice Rider because they're like, oh, you're just going to Heat Crash me. Not Eruption. But, okay, we do bait out the Tera. That's fine. I mean, Eruption's still going to do like half to it. Okay. So, Fairy Tera committed now. Cool. Sleep Powder doesn't miss. That's huge. Because I think this now means I can just Tailwind Eruption next turn. Yeah, like I don't want to be clicking Tailwind if there's the threat of Trick Room, but if there's no threat of Trick Room, then Tailwind is really safe. Look how much damage that does. Okay, Glacial, perfect. Beautiful. Well, I would call this an episode of learning from how like the previous games went. Like you can actually see literally like the lessons I took away from the previous games and how I'm adapting them now. But now I just click Tailwind and Eruption. I don't have to worry about Trick Room anymore. Okay, they switch. It's fine. Into Ogerpon. There's nothing that handles Eruption at this point, honestly, once I set up this Tailwind. And Groudon now should outspeed Roaring Moon. Beautiful. Yeah, I think this is just game. So pretty crazy to think it's like 75% chance to just win the game on turn 1 if the Sleep Powder hits. And even if we miss, I think it's like we're still okay. Depends on what Roarming goes for. It could obviously Tailwind there. Wouldn't be shocked if they Acrobatics into Jumpluff. Lando comes out now. Cool. I think Eruption just pops this. Oh, but it's Water Tera, right? Wait, actually, with Water Tera, this game isn't 100% won yet. This can just protect. The question is whether or not you Sand Seer or Earth Power. They should Tera, but then I've got Ogerpon and Dark Ursh in the back. Like, I think it's fine to Sleep Powder and Eruption here. And we hit. Cool. It is Water Tera on land. Oh, no. They Terra'd Ice Ride already. This always happens on Road to Rank where I'm literally just trying to cover for something that cannot happen because, like, an item or a Tera was already revealed earlier. So, yeah, then we were 100% fine here. There was nothing they could have done. But I think even if they didn't, like, they had Tera available, I would still go for the same play because you either Spiky Shield Water Tera. If Sleep Powder connects, then we just put you to sleep. And if Ogerpon goes for Follow Me, then I knock out Ogerpon and I have Dark Ursh, and Dark Ursh can just finish off the game. Plus, we still have a 4th Pokemon as well. But, yeah. Just hitting Sleep Powder immediately put us in really, really good shape. I do think this matchup is quite favorable as well, truthfully. So, yeah. But just really funny because I was, like, literally talking about the team and then we went up against it. If I were in my opponent's shoes, how would I play this matchup? You could go Fire Ogerpon. I think it's, like, Fire Ogerpon Ice Rider. Follow Me, Fairy Tera, Trick Room turn 1. And then have Landorus in the back. That's what I would do. So go with Trick Room instead of the Roaring Moon mode. Because I think, like, one of my biggest takeaways in all of these games is just that, like, wow, Landorus under Trick Room would really kind of actually mess me up because we're, like, fast on, like, a slow Landorus under Trick Room, right? Because, like, Sandsear Storm, you can just, like, click consistently, and there isn't that much that I can do to stop it. And so it's about actually, like, Landorus, I think, is actually the most important Pokemon in the matchup rather than your restricted Pokemon. So I think with Ogerpon plus Ice Rider, it's almost impossible for me to deny Trick Room on turn 1. And it's especially good into Jumpluff because you Follow Me to block the Sleep Powder. So even though you take a ton of damage, with the Follow Me plus the Ice Rider, Ogerpon faints. And then you have about like 30% Ice Rider, Fairy Tera plus Landorus under Trick Room into Groudon plus Jumpluff. So yeah. Okay, that's a Snorlax. That's really cool. We have Zacian, Raging Bolt, Urshifu, Snorlax, Landorus, and Incineroar. Should be pretty scary for Zacian here. Jumpluff Groudon looks insanely good. I think my main fear would be instant lead pressuring with Fake Out. But I'm thinking Jumpluff Groudon. Probably want some damage for the Incineroar. I think Raging Bolt's not very good in this matchup. They don't really have that many special attackers. It would mainly be to deal with their opposing Raging Bolt. So I think Ogerpon are fine enough. Actually, I will say them having Raging Bolt makes me want to go with Raging Bolt a little bit more. Under Tailwind, this should be pretty powerful. Yeah, I think I'll bring out Bolt just because this pressure is like Draco one-hit knockout, which is pretty sweet. And then it's one of Ursh or Ogerpon here. I think I like Urshifu. This way I can just hit everything for super effective damage, and they can only Tera one Pokemon, right? You Tera Zacian, that means no Tera Incin, no Tera Raging Bolt. Fluttermane I don't like love here, mainly because we're up against Zacian, but I do think Flutter Groudon maybe was an acceptable lead in this matchup. It's going to be Incin plus Snorlax. Whoa. I wonder if it's Thick Fat Snorlax by any chance. Could be Yawn as well. I could actually click like Encore with Jumpluff turn 1, which is kind of interesting. Onto Incin. The idea is if you click Fake Out here into Groudon, then you're completely useless next turn. So I'm actually kind of down for that. Because I don't think Snorlax is scaring me that much where I feel the need to attack it. So I'm going to just Encore turn 1. And I could Earth Power into Incin. Try to just eliminate that. In case they don't Fake Out. Yeah, I'm actually kind of down for that. Cool, they do Fake Out. That's fine. Okay. Let's see what Snorlax goes for. Okay, it's just Yawn. That's fine. Incin obviously has to switch out right now. I think the main debate here was, do I want to switch out with Jumpluff? Or do I want to set up Tailwind? Because I think there's merit to both. To me, it's pretty easy to just fire Tera Eruption right now. And do a ton of damage. Snorlax here probably should be clicking Yawn again. I would guess into the Groudon slot. Yeah, I think it's actually worth setting up Tailwind here. Fire Tera Eruption. And the idea behind that turn 1 Encore was specifically to force Incineroar to switch out. And they bring out Landorus, so that should just get popped right now. Perfect. This is actually a really big deal because Landorus is really annoying for our team to deal with, right? Like, we have Raging Bull, we have Urshifu, Earth Power does so much, and, of course, a Groudon. But now with Specs Eruption, that should just be a knockout. Okay. Jumpluff will set up its Tailwind. Groudon will get its Eruption off. I'm assuming Snorlax here is Thick Fat. Thick Fat, yeah, for sure. It only takes like 40% there. Wow. Yeah, we're going to click Yawn again. Okay, very interesting. I presume you bring Incin back in now. You bring Incin back in, and then you could Fake Out plus Yawn into the Groudon slot. I think I'm actually happy to just burn a Sleep Turn here with Jumpluff, honestly. But I think I actually could double switch as well. That actually might be better. Bolt and Ursh. Yeah, I like this more. Because the main thing is they're not exerting that much offensive pressure right now. And even if you get a Yawn off here, Urshifu gets to come out. And so I'm guaranteed, for example, a close combat with it, right? And Bolt now can also start Electro Webbing, which is a big deal, because if you pivot in that Zacian and I lower your speed, well, then Groudon could just outpace you in this endgame. Oh, the U-turn. Okay, so you're Assault Vest Incin, most likely. That is good to know. Okay, fine by me. Zacian finally hits the field. Yep. And they click Yawn. This was a really nice play, though, right? So let's see. I can go for Electro Web now in close combat. Okay, Zacian protects. That's fine. We should knock out the Snorlax. How am I going up against... Okay, I mean, it's fine, because I think Electro should KO it, but how am I going up against Chople Berry Thick Fat Snorlax? That's crazy! Oh my goodness. 2 Pokemon being asleep here is kind of scary, but I don't think Zacian should be able to one-shot Groudon in this endgame, so I should just be able to nuke it with an Overheat. But, wow. Chople Berry, Thick Fat Snorlax. That's wild. Fascinating. Last turn of Tailwind here. You know I have Electro Web, so you'll probably want to Fake Out into this. I would double up onto Bolt, personally. So I kind of want to switch in Jumpluff here. Burn a Sleep Turn with Urshifu. The Snorlax was incredibly disruptive. I'm very impressed by it. It's the best use of Snorlax I've seen in this format, so kudos to my opponent. Very cool stuff. I think the main debate is whether or not I should have like stayed in with Jumpluff. I think switching out that turn may have honestly been okay, but the problem is not having any Pokemon faster than Zacian. And my fear of it just coming out and outpacing everything. But I do think switching out that turn may have made sense. Okay, fake out into Jumpluff. Ursh burns 1 turn to sleep. Wow, sub protect Zacian. They were really cooking with their movesets here, I gotta say. That's fascinating. Sub makes a lot of sense when you have Yawn, so that's cool. I shall click Tailwind here and close combat. Okay, they're going to Behemoth Blade into Jumpluff, which gives Urshifu a chance to wake up immediately here. They crit us, but I presume that didn't matter. And Jumpluff didn't burn any turns of sleep yet. If you're running Behemoth Blade, though, I question if you're running Plate Rough. And if you're not running Plate Rough, that's obviously good for the Raging Bolt. Okay. I'm going to bring out Groudon right now. I feel okay locking into Earth Power. The problem is Assault Vest Instant probably actually survives, but I'll Earth Power and close combat into it. A Wake Up there would have been really nice. May have actually just won us the game, because then Instant would be low enough where I can get a guaranteed knockout onto it. Okay, it's just Behemoth Blade. Yep. I assume they have Play Rough. I think you should be Behemoth Blade, Play Rough, Sub Protect, personally. But yeah. If it's Behemoth Blade and Play Rough, though, it means you can't really hit Groudon for much damage, right? And we one-shot Instant. Okay, nice. Maybe it's not Assault Vest, then? The key thing here is they still haven't Tera'd, obviously. But I can Thunderclap Earth Power right now, which is huge. I just can't believe in like playing a Eruption Groudon team, we ran into this Snorlax set. No Tera from their end. Don't I just win if this breaks sub? Okay. They play rough? Yep. But Earth Power just KOs them. I'm really surprised they didn't Tera there. I think you always should Tera. Unless you are a Tera, like your Tera Steel? But yeah, maybe they just weren't anticipating Thunderclap coming out and breaking the substitute. It's funny because in this game it was actually about Groudon using Earth Power more than it was about it clicking Eruption. But I want to do the damage calc against potential Assault Vest Incineroar, because normally you're not running U-Turn on Incineroar unless you're Assault Vest, but we have seen like U-Turn Incin on a non-AV set, for example at the finals of EUIC. And so it's definitely like possible to throw it on. It's just normally, you know, you want to run Parting Shot. But yeah, I want to look at the calc. Specs Groudon Earth Power into Assault Vest Incineroar is, as you can see, never a one-hit knockout. So this is what I was expecting, because normally you don't run U-Turn unless you're Assault Vest. But like I said, there are players who have run it and done very well with it, like we saw in EUIC finals. So it's not completely unheard of. It's just relatively rare. And Incineroar also, by the way, doesn't even need the Assault Vest to survive this. Like if you're really specially defensive, say you have like 164 special defense EVs and you're careful, then even if you take away the Assault Vest, for example, here, Earth Power is not a guaranteed one-hit knockout. And if you're running max, which is, I'd say, very uncommon, but if you were, then as you can see here, then it's never a one-hit knockout. Incineroar is just a Pokemon that likes to run a lot of defense investment as well, because like Surging Strikes is so common, for example, so many physical attackers in the formats. You normally run a mix between defense and special defense, but yeah, just wanted to show the specs calcs here. We have a Zamazenta team here, so pretty wild to face Zama right after Zacian. Raging Bolt, Champal Flutter, and then Iron Shreds. What are you doing there? There's no Miraidon. That's fascinating. There can only be one booster energy on this team, which is also really interesting, because there's so many Pokemon that want booster energy. So Groudon with Eruption and Earth Power is actually really good here in my opinion. Eruption is insane, but obviously we have to respect Wide Guard from Zama. Flutter, however, can taunt Zama to prevent it from Wide Guarding any further. One thing to think about is if I bring Groudon, I also set up the Sun, so the Photosynthesis activates for my opponent as well. But I think this could just be a Jumpluff Groudon game, honestly. Fire Ogerpon. Bolt is interesting. Like, the reason I'm thinking about it is because they have Bolt. They have... If it's Dragon Tera Zama, this should be really good. But Dark Ursh Wicked Blow does look pretty convincing here as well. I just don't love either of these into a Zama matchup because Body Press and Heavy Slam respectively kind of crush me. So I think I'll go Bolt. I think Jumpluff here can be really annoying for my opponent, especially if we land those Sleep Powders, right? Imagine they lead like Zama Chien-Pao. I can just go Sleep Powder, Fire Tera, Eruption turn 1. Even if you Wide Guard, I put you to sleep and then turn 2 Tailwind Eruption. I guess one of the main things to contemplate is do I want to click Eruption or like Heat Wave instead? But it's going to be Zama, Fire, Ogerpon. Okay, that works with me. You pressure follow me here. I could definitely Fire Tera Overheat Ogerpon. Because I could see them going for follow me. If you follow me though, you're not going to Wide Guard as well, right? This could Dragon Tera. Like, I'm actually thinking about just Tailwind Fire Tera Eruption. Alternatively, I think I can go for Overheat here. Tailwind Fire Tera Overheat. Which I don't hate either. If you're clicking Wide Guard, what are you doing? You could go like Wide Guard, Woodhammer, Fire Tera, Woodhammer, or Cudgel turn 1 into either slot. I'm kind of down to Tailwind Fire Tera Eruption, though, honestly. Let's see. Because I don't know if they're even that worried about regular Precipice Blades right now, right? I also thought about just clicking Sleep Powder into Zama, saying, look, if you go for Wide Guard, then you can't go for an attack. No Wide Guard, no Follow Me or Tera means we catch our opponent off guard. And this should just double KO. No Tera. Yeah. Beautiful. Oh. Yeah. Like, basically, I figure the worst case scenario there is Zama Wide Guards. And then Ogerpon gets, like, a Cudgel or a Woodhammer off. But then you bring, like, Jumpluff down to 1 HP, right? And then I have Tailwind set up, so you're kind of forced to Wide Guard again the next turn. And, like, Groudon's just not taking that much damage. And then if you click Wide Guard again with Zama, I can just click Sleep Powder into you. But I think that's one of the things that makes this, like, team and combo really powerful. Like, your opponent sometimes, like, you're just not going to expect Eruption, right? So it could just literally win you the game in a turn. So it's going to be Chien-Pao and Raging Bolt now. We already set up Tailwind. I could either Rage Powder. I don't hate clicking Sleep Powder here. Bolt and Ogerpon in the back and still so many turns of Tailwind. Yeah, I think I'm okay going for Sleep Powder here into Bolt and Eruption. They're going to Tera. Okay. Tera Bolt. Could be Tera Electric. Ooh, okay, okay. I like it. This means maybe I actually should have gone Follow Me this or Rage Powder this turn. Because I could see them Thunderclap, Sucker Punch into Groudon. Ah, but it's Ice Shard. Okay. Ice Shard Chien-Pao I feel like has been picking up on ladder, by the way. And one of the big, like, pluses of Ice Shard Groudon, or sorry, Ice Shard Chien-Pao is being able to hit Landorus. That actually does so much damage to us, but it's fine. Sleep Powder connects. And I feel like that should just end the game now. Even though Groudon's going to do very minimal damage with this Eruption, that's still fine. Oh my gosh, it still brings Chien-Pao down to 1 HP. Oh. Okay, they'll probably just Ice Shard us. They could also Protect here, obviously. If you Ice Shard, there's one more turn of Tailwind. You might have Sucker Punch. This Protect and this Burning a turn of Sleep is probably their best play. I'm okay switching into Ogre here and actually just clicking Eruption again. Okay, they just end up forfeiting. The logic behind the Ogre switch in there is if you Ice Shard me, then fine, you get knocked out by Groudon, and if you Protect, I get Ogre in safely. If you Sucker Punch Groudon, that's probably the scariest option, but then you only burn 1 turn of Sleep. I still have 1 more turn of Tailwind, I can just bring Raging Bolt out next to Ogerpon. So, yeah. But that was a nice Thunderclap play. I wonder if they had Sucker Punch, because when you run Ice Shard, you do have to give up moves, right? So you probably are like Ice Shard, 1 of Icicle Crush plus Ice Spinner, and then like Crunch or Throat Chop and Protect, for example. And so I think, yeah, the downside of running Ice Shard Champ is giving up an attack. But yeah, this game highlights how a single turn incorrect against Groudon can just win you the game. I was surprised to not see a Tera on either Pokemon, but I could see my opponent not wanting to Tera Ogerpon, because if you Tera it, then you're double weak to Precipice Blades, which is normally what you would expect from Groudon, and I think they were probably just not expecting me to, of course, go for Eruption there. But yeah, I was really shocked to see no Protect, no Tera, and no Wide Guard, but that's the thing, right? If they don't go for that, we just win. And once again, like I mentioned, yes, I know they could have Wide Guard, but what is Ogerpon threatening Groudon with, right? It's going to be an Ivy Cudgel probably, or a Wood Hammer. If you fire Tera turn 1, it just means I can pressure you with Sleep Powder on turn 2, right? And even if Zama Wide Guards, Jumpluff has Focus Sash, so Wide Guard, let's say you Cudgel into my Jumpluff, then the next turn I can just launch Sleep Powder into Zama. If Zama Wide Guards again and it gets hit by Sleep Powder, it's just completely neutralized essentially, because it can't even burn a Sleep turn. The main thing is then we're going to like not have that many Tailwind turns to work with, but the reality is I don't need a ton. And then like if Jumpluff faints, Ogerpon can just come out and then offer more redirection, right? So I was willing to take the gamble there on turn 1 with Wide Guard and basically say, look, you have to respect it. I'm going to keep you honest. And with them not clicking Wide Guard, we just basically win the game in a turn. Oh, we have Pelipper on the opposing side. Okay. It's probably not very easy to utilize Groudon then, but that's okay. We'll probably want Raging Bolt. I think that'll be a key player. I could go Groudon Bolt. Flutter Bolt. We should probably be bringing Dark Urshifu into this matchup. Rock Ogerpon is fairly annoying in my opinion. We also don't have Shadow Ball and Flutter here. I think Jumpluff having Sash, though, makes it actually a viable lead, even without Sun. Because I can still utilize it to set up Tailwind, so I'm thinking Jumpluff, Bolt. I could also go Jumpluff Groudon and just, like, call them switching in Pelipper turn 1 and then just hard switch into my Bolt while Sleep Powdering. But I'm thinking Jumpluff, Bolt, Dark Urshifu, Groudon here. It's also Dark Tera on Jumpluff, and so if they want to go like Expanding Force, I can just Dark Tera and Electro Web and go from there. But yeah, I think the existence of Pelipper means we have to be careful about just spamming Groudon. Changes the weather. It is going to be NDD Calyrex. Okay. It's okay with me. The main question is whether or not we think they just click Expanding Force here immediately. If you're leading this, Pelipper presumably is in the back. There's the Psychic Seed. Follow Me is what I expect. Unfortunately, we don't have Snarl here. That would have been really nice to have. I could Dark Tera here, but I think I could also Tailwind, Electro Web. I could Sleep Powder, Electro Web as well. I think that's the play I like the most here. And they're gonna Tera, sure. Tera Calyrex, could be Psychic. Fairy, okay. Yep, Follow Me comes out. We go for Draining Kiss instead of Astral or Expanding. Okay, well with the Salt Vest here, I don't mind that too much. Could be worse. Take just over half. Sleep Powder comes out. And Electro Web connects. Okay, nice. Not a bad turn. So now I can... I think honestly I can just launch Sleep Powder into Calyrex here and angle to Volt Switch. The debate here is maybe I should just hard switch out, because losing Bolt means I lose my best answer into Pelipper. Tailwind Volt Switch as well. Maybe Draining Kiss. I also have Rage Powder here. I think I'm down for Sleep Powder though. Even if I miss, it's not the end of the world. Oh, they protect. That's huge. I can just Encore now. Unless NDD gets a one-turn Wake. That's my one fear here. Which is honestly, is this better for us? Because then I don't have to rely on hitting. So I'm going to Encore here. And then Volt Switch out. And then the idea is get Dark Ursh out and just go Dark Tera Wicked Blow. They may have been trying to go for a Rage or Follow Me there. So we're lucky it's not a one-turn Wake. But now Calyrex is trapped. Beautiful. Protect fails. Volt Switch. And I think I'm just going to go into Dark Urshifu first, because with Groudon, like, Pelipper just hits the field and makes it feel kind of bad. And with my opponent having committed Tera already, like, now I can just Tailwind Wicked Blow. Like, this slot is useless, right? So set up Tailwind this turn. Go for a Wicked Blow onto NDD. I thought about Dark Terraing here, but part of me still wants to save my Tera for the Groudon, ideally. But yeah, in this kind of matchup, it's just like you recognize that your opponent has one of the biggest counters to the specific Groudon set, so you kind of have to use the rest of the tools in order to approach the matchup. Okay, Pelly switches in. That's fine. It's great to see Pelly hit the field now, before Groudon hits the field. NDD does manage to wake up. Just goes for Follow Me. It's quite smart because it would redirect a Sleep Powder away from Pelipper, so I like that play on their end, but fortunately we didn't go for that, so now I get my Tailwind up, which is huge. And Wicked Blow here to just eliminate NDD, okay? I assume they will lock Draining Kiss here with Calyrex. I ideally would like to, like, not play towards a... Oh, actually, you know, if you're just Draining Kiss, I can just Rage Powder with Jumpluff, right? And I think that's a really big deal, so that's what I'm thinking. It's Ogerpon coming out, okay? I can Dark Tera. I could also just Sleep Powder here. I'm leaning towards Sleep Powder. Rage Powder also works here. Rage Powder. Wicked Blow Ogerpon. Okay, they follow me. That works. I'll take this trade. Nice. I'm assuming they just Hurricane here. Nope, Tailwind. Okay, that's fine. I can Encore you now. Terrain disappears. 2 turns of Tailwind, 3 turns of Tailwind. Yeah, I'm down for that. I think we can just go Encore into you and Wicked Blow into Ogerpon. Okay, they go for Follow Me. That's fine. It does mean that I eat up a Hurricane though, so I question whether, like, I may have actually been able to go for Tera here with Urshifu. Oh, but they actually Hurricane into Pelipper, or sorry, into Jumpluff. Cool. That works for me. Well, we'll win the Weather War now, which is good, but I still have to deal with Fairy Tera Calyrex. If there were any other Tera, I think we could just, like, Dark Tera. I can still Dark Tera here, but Pelly's probably Focus Sashed. Last turn of Tailwind, 2 turns of Tailwind, so our speeds are even right now. I could always, like, switch Groudon in and Sleep Powder into Calyrex. It's like a 75% chance to win on the spot there. This pressures with Draining Kiss, but also pressures with Astral Barrage. And then you could Astral Weather Ball or Hurricane into this. Leaning towards the Sleep Powder into Calyrex, switching Groudon play. And then the ideal outcome would be let they knock out my Jumpluff and I just get a free switch it into Raging Bolt. But I finally won the Weather War, but at what cost is the question. Nice. Sleep Powder doesn't miss. Cool. I don't love that I had to click Sleep Powder a bunch in this matchup, but I think when you're up against the Pelipper and Redirect, like, it's Pelipper plus Rock Ogerpon plus, like, so it's like double Redirection plus Rain. It's not a good combo for us. So the Weather Ball here to eliminate Jumpluff, but now we've won the Weather War. I think this means I can go into Raging Bolt. The game is actually technically not won yet if they get a 1-turn Wake with Calyrex, I think. But Groudon should be able to tank attacks here. I'm thinking Thunderclap here. Fire Tera. Do I need a Fire Tera here? Probably not. I'm just a little bit hesitant to click Eruption in case they get a 1-turn Wake and, like, this could threaten with Wide Guard as well. Are they ever Wide Guarding here, though? I really don't think so, is the thing. It's just that we could miss Eruption or Overheat, but I think I will go Thunderclap and just Overheat into Calyrex. Cool. There should be Sash, though. Yeah. I think the Sturdy and this Focus Sash makes this a lot tougher for us in this matchup as well, but it's still okay. Cool. Calyrex stays asleep. Okay. Yeah, no Hurricane in Sun connects. Oh my gosh, I did a ton. No confusion. Whew. Groudon manages to get the Overheat off. Okay, cool. Sometimes Pelipper will run like Rocky Helmet or Covert Cloak, and so I figured if that was the case, then by Thunderclapping there, we also just win on the spot. But I think this game was kind of scary because we did have to hit those Sleep Powders. I think if we miss, the game is substantially more difficult. And this is just not a game where Groudon can come out and spam Eruption because they have Pelipper, right? So, yeah. And I can just Thunderclap again and Overheat. I think the turn 1, like, getting a lot of damage onto Raging Bolt was actually really smart for my opponent because, like, long-term Raging Bolt's actually kind of the problem. And I didn't have a lot of damage with Raging Bolt plus Jumpluff into Fairy Tera Calyrex. Fairy Tera is fairly common on Calyrex, so, like, that's not a surprise by any means, but yeah. I think this is honestly just a really hard matchup, and so I think, you know, if we don't hit those Sleep Powders, we probably lose, but, like, we found a way to at least win, right? I think it's like when you look at a team like this, you probably think, oh, I can just like use Groudon all the time, but that's definitely not the case. If your opponent has Pelipper, if they have Wide Guard, if they have like manual Rain Dance, those are all things that you have to be aware of, and that is kind of what we ran into here. So we figured out a way to win, but it was definitely scary, and it's not a consistent way in the sense that like I never want to be clicking Sleep Powder that much. In the end, we needed to hit 1 on Indeedee and 1 on Calyrex, and that was like a little bit less than ideal. The other thing I was thinking about was the turn that the Pelipper switched in for Calyrex. No, there really wasn't too much that we could have done. I think if like Jumpluff had an attacking move, this matchup would have also been a little bit easier because I could like actually KO Pelipper and Ogerpon. But with no attacking move, it means that like I just accept that they get down to Focus Sash, and then that's basically it. So yeah. We've got Terapagos here with Ursaluna, Whimsicott, Amoonguss, Chiyu, Urshifu. Terapagos is really spooky. I'm leaning towards Jumpluff Groudon lead. Urshifu in the back. Jumpluff, Groudon, Urshifu, Firepon. Flutter's bringable, Bolt is bringable. But I think Firepon just in the sun does so much damage. I think the main thing we have to think about in this matchup is Terapagos Tera to get rid of sun. But I think Jumpluff Groudon feels fairly strong. I pressure Sleep Powder, I pressure Eruption. What would they lead with here? Whims, Terapagos is a possibility. Whims Ursh. Whims Chi-Yu. Okay. I think that's fine. Fire Tera. They're gonna Tailwind. I can Tailwind. Tailwind, Fire Tera, Eruption. Worried about taking too much damage on Groudon. Maybe I Heat Wave here instead, because I'm not sure Eruption is, like, KOing anyway. I'm also not even sure I want a Tera, to be honest. I'm thinking about Tailwind and actually just Heat Wave or Earth Power. But then I guess Chi-Yu does too much damage to me. Okay, Tailwind, Fire Tera, Heat Wave. And then Jumpluff pressures with Sleep Powder and Rage Powder. Yep, so they Tailwind, that's fine. We Tailwind. Maybe I could have Sleep Powdered Chi-Yu there, actually, in retrospect. That looks like Specs Chi-Yu to me. Which I guess is fine. No, it's Life Orb, okay. Get Heat Wave. Sash Whimsicott, okay. It's fine. I think I can go Sleep Powder now into Chi-Yu, Heat Wave. Nice. Sleep Powder doesn't miss. That's huge. Whimsicott's not going for a Prankster move, so what are we opting for here? Just Moonblast. Okay, that makes sense. I'll get a double knockout. But then they'll have Terapagos +1. Oh, wow. We don't knock out Chi-Yu. I actually think that benefits me, I guess, because it denies my opponent just an immediate free switch in. So, yeah, I actually don't mind that too much. Probably just going to Tera Starstorm. Bring out Ogre first to try to break the shell. My guess is Terapagos actually made Tera here. Flutter in the back actually would have been really good for me, huh? Because I would have been able to just Icy Wind Heat Wave. That would have been pretty sweet. I'm gonna Spiky Shield here and Heat Wave. Yeah, they're gonna Tera. Okay, so no more Sun. One of the questions I have is how fast is this Terapagos? I wouldn't be surprised if this is just Specs Terapagos, which is not good for us. little spiky here. Shu stays asleep. Groudon is faster. Okay, that's really good information. We do a lot with Heat Wave there. Nice. And there's Starstorm, but I got a lot of damage off. Okay, now we get a free switch it into Ursh. What is their last one gonna be? Mungus, Ursaluna, Urshifu. Dark Ursh. Okay. So we know Ursh will definitely be faster than Terapagos. I think I can just follow me here and close combat. I should survive Wicked Blow. Yep, or close combat, it's fine. It's close. So we'll knock out Terapagos here. Them outpacing me is a little bit scary, but I just go for another follow me. Close combat. And then they'll be at 1 HP, whereas I'll be at full HP. And then I'll just keep Sucker Punching. But it could devolve into a Sucker Punch endgame, which would not be fun. But I think we just follow me close combat here. I mean, if you were, like, I think it was, I mean, it was basically over, I guess, because it would be 1 HP Urshifu against max HP Urshifu, but there's actually, because we're not focus sashed on Ursh, the game wasn't 100% won yet for me. Because you can get to an end game where, so, like, assuming they're sashed. If they weren't sashed, then I can see why they made that play, because you always lose to follow me close combat. So, yeah. But what I was thinking is if you have sash, follow me, you KO me, I bring you down to 1 HP, and then I have to keep clicking Sucker Punch, right? But you could win the speed tie on the Sucker Punches, or you can stall out my Sucker Punch by going for, like, Protect, for example. So I didn't think, like, I actually had that game completely locked up yet because I didn't have Sash on Urshifu. But I think what was really big here is Terapagos just actually not doing a ton in that one. By the way, one quick note about outspeeding Terapagos there. So Terapagos needs a ton of speed investment to outpace the Urshifu and the Groudon there. If you actually have Timid max speed, for example, you reach a speed stat of 150 with Stellar Terapagos, which does allow you to outpace Urshifu and Groudon. But if you are Modest Nature and max speed, it's not enough to actually outspeed either. So my guess is that they were just Modest max. And of course, you know, part of the upside is that Groudon does have a slightly higher base speed. And so as a result, yeah, you need Timid plus near max speed investment in order to be outpacing our Pokemon there. So most Terapagoses are Modest, and that played a big role in this matchup. But I wasn't sure if they were going to be Modest or Timid, and if they were Timid, I would probably just end up losing the game. Anyway, that's going to be it for this one. So thank you so much, as always, for joining me. Really fun to feature this unique set on Groudon. And if you are looking for a team that can just have a lot of explosive firepower right away, I really would recommend this one. So yeah, once again, thanks to the team builder for posting and sharing. And thanks to you all, as always, for watching. And I'll see you all soon. All right, peace.